Hi guys, for our project we did the Renaissance era. No Hamilton, okay? That's not what we decided on. Just take your Hamilton stuff, put it away, and help me present. Anyway, our story of the Renaissance begins all the way back in 1351 when the Black Death ended and it started to take play. Let's start with the two Renaissance. There's the Italian Renaissance and the Northern Renaissance. Okay, if you think this is so boring, how about you explain it? What are they supposed to get from this? Ugh, you know what, I'm just going to explain it. The Italian Renaissance began after the 1300s. It was the start of a change in art, warfare, and culture. Huh? Sorry about this. Okay, there we go. Culture. Let's start with the beginning. The start of the Italian Renaissance began after the Black Death, during the period of time when people were being starved and warfare took over Europe. Art flourished. Michelangelo here was one of the major influences on Renaissance art. His drawings and paintings were both beautiful and different. Okay. Anyway, along with Michelangelo, there were Donatello, Raphael, and Da Vinci, who also made a difference in art. Art and architecture advanced in several ways, including perspective, realism, Greek and Roman inspired, and the advancement in dome-shaped roofs. The Medici family also played a major role in the Renaissance. They became extremely wealthy through piracy of money and made banking huge in Florence, Italy. Once the Medici family was in rule of Florence, it became a major banking city. Surrounding cities also started becoming popular, like Milan and Venice. Both cities succeeded in trade and became major trade cities. In Milan, they specialized in agriculture, silk, and weapons, while in Venice, they specialized in general goods. Venice had an advantage in trade since there was an easy access to the sea, thus making trade easier. Finally, the printing press was built. Manuscripts and books were copied and sent up north, where our next lesson starts. By the 1500s, most cities across northern Europe began to grow. For example, the Renaissance reached the cities of London, Paris, Amsterdam, and etc. The Renaissance was spread there by trade, artists, and scholars moving there, and the printing press. Scholars went to Italy from northern Europe to get a better education. When they would return, they brought humanistic ideas with them. With new knowledge, Europe was also able to afford schools and universities in France, the Netherlands, and Germany. Artists, on the other hand, used some Italian techniques, yet it ended up being more of a realistic view on humanity. While Italian Renaissance artists focused on Greek and Roman god, Northern artists like Albert Dürer began to gain new techniques. Artists began using oil to paint and changed their style of paintings. Instead of using Greek and Roman gods like Italian artists, Northern artists use everyday objects to present religious symbols. Wake up, all the boring stuff is over, I think. Okay. Well, we're halfway done at least. I guess we gotta go on without you. Our last topics for this video are the Protestant Reformation and the Counter-Reformation. Thank you. Let's begin. The Protestant Reformation started when the Roman Catholic Church started to gain more power and wealth in Europe as a whole. People started to believe that the church was starting to drift away from its spiritual roots. After a few years, the whole thing became known as the Protestant Reformation. The Roman Catholic Church had become financially corrupt, abused, and the power of immortality was abused. Throughout the following years, people started to disrespect the monks, priests, and popes. Taxation got higher on the lower middle class and peasants, which means it didn't end well for both sides. The church corrupted the minds of the peasants and the lower middle class into thinking that after you died, you went to purgatory. This belief went on for about 1,000 years. The Reformation was started by two men, John Wycliffe and Jean Hus. Together, the two men made the most influence on the church and kept criticizing it. In 1517, Martin Luther came along and became one of the known men that led the Protestant Reformation. He criticized the church for selling indulgences and the power of the Pope and wealth of the church. Throughout the Renaissance, he studied and debated. He contradicted the basics of the Catholic Church's beliefs. It got to a point where he believed that he had more power than any position in the church, including Jesus himself. Afterwards, Pope Leo X executed him from the church. Years later, the Protestant Reformation got out of hand. The church decided to make a series of reforms called the Counter-Reformation. A council was named under Pope Paul III. This council became the Council of Trent and started to find a way to fix the Roman Catholic Church. They clarified the teachings of the Catholic Church so people were able to get back on track of the right religion. Overall, the Renaissance was a major part in history of the world. It shaped modern-day art, architecture, literature, and culture. Bye, guys. Now I can finally relax, which sounds like a good idea. And made huge banking, ugh.